Hi, friends, and welcome back to the Surviving Abuse podcast. Did you miss me? I definitely missed you. We're back at it again with the Narcissistic series. And in today's episode, we are going to talk about whether or not your mom is a narcissist. So today's topic is your mom a narcissist? 10 common traits. Okay, so we are going to go through these. As you all know, my mom is a narcissist, and so a lot of my examples are from, excuse me, and so a lot of the examples are from real life. And some time has passed. For any loyal viewers, you might have noticed a bit of a hiatus. So I no longer live with her, and so some time has passed. And honestly, I feel so much better. I feel like I'm in a much different space, and I feel like I can now get through these episodes without crying. Anyway, so without further ado, let's get into the 10 common traits of narcissistic mothers. So without further ado, let's get into number 1. So the first common trait of narcissistic mothers is blame shifting. If there is something that a narcissistic mom does not know, it's something called accountability. Accountability, who, what? Is that an English word? That is a made up word.
Oh my God, what is that? Oh my God, what is that?
Anyway, so let's look into blame shifting. They rarely take responsibility for their actions, often blaming their children for any issues that arise, which can instill feelings of guilt and confusion in the child. Oh my God, guys. Now, you will know that the birth of the Surviving Abuse podcast started with me opening up about being molested as a child when I was living in my family home. And it literally happened for 4 years straight, from when I was 5 to when I was around 9, 10. And it is such a shameful thing because I literally was surrounded by my loved ones, but especially, if you have a child, as the mother, you are the primary caregiver. And so it is such a shameful thing that as a child, I was being molested for 4 years straight. Like, where the fuck was my mom? And when I was talking about this, because I have talked about this on this channel, I shared her reactions to my video. And instead of her taking accountability and saying that I was a bad mom and I neglected you as a child, which was very shitty of me, instead she focused on how, you don't want this to be out on the internet. It's going to affect your hireability. It's going to make you a less attractive candidate. And I'm like, could you literally be more misogynistic? Like, could you literally be more woman hating? Could you literally be more of a pedophile apologist? Like, she all but said that, no, Lavender, you actually deserved it because, like, literally, what does that have to do with me that you were being molested as a child? Like, that has literally nothing to do with me. And honestly, it's really disgusting. And I don't think I'll ever get over that until the day I die. I think it's definitely a mark on my soul, my brain, my heart, my DNA. It's something that I will never ever, it's something that I cannot uncouple from myself. I cannot uncouple from my being. And I actually have a video coming up. I still haven't started editing it. It's one of the last conversations that I had with my birth mother, Becky. And it was a conversation that happened after the plantain episode, which will pop up on the screen right now. So for those of you who have not checked it out, trust me, that episode is worth every second of listening time. So after the plantain episode, so she essentially called me to her bedroom and gave me a good talking to. It was akin to being called to the principal's office to be told that you are embarrassing the school. And so I have that audio clipping, and I just haven't started editing it because for the longest time I haven't been in the space to listen to it, because of course if I'm editing it, then I have to listen to it, and just the thought of it just makes me want to break out in hives. But I'm working on it, guys. I'm working on it. I'm working on myself. I want to be in a space where I can listen to that disgusting audio and be able to edit it so that it can be helpful to someone who's suffering from narcissistic abuse from the mom. But I just am not in that space yet. But I promise you, I will get there. When, I don't know, but I will. I'm pretty sure I will. Anyway. So if you have not watched any of these 3 episodes, they are, of course, live on the podcast, and you can find them. I will be sure to link them down below. So for you to really have a really good grasp of how narcissistic mothers blame shift, then you definitely want to check out these videos. So let's look at the second common trait of narcissistic moms: emotional volatility. Guys, I have just talked about the plantain episode, and the picture on the screen right now is actually from that plantain episode. So it is definitely worth a listen. Again, all the episodes that are referenced in this podcast episode are going to be linked for you in the description bar below. So be sure to check them out if you have no idea what I'm talking about. So anyway, let's check out what the emotional volatility is exactly. Narcissistic mothers can be emotionally volatile, reacting with rage or passive-aggressive behavior when they feel criticized or challenged. This unpredictability creates an unstable environment for their children. So guys, After the plantain episode, suddenly my biological mother Becky realized that she no longer had money for the rent to pay rent for the house we were all living in. And honestly, guys, if I tell you that I believe that that was my higher self uncoupling, or my ancestors, or whatever it is you believe in, but that is something that narcissistic parents do. In the study of narcissism as a whole, it's called discarding. It's when you've exposed the narcissist and they no longer have any card to play. They destabilize your life. When they have no cards left, they destabilize your life.
So sometimes a narcissist or a toxic person will discard you just because they want a fresh start. And of course, if you're new here, I'm a narcissist. I actually have narcissistic personality disorder. So many people ask me, like, why do narcissists discard you? Why did they get rid of you? Why did they break up with you when I've given them so many chances? And sometimes, y'all, they just want a new relationship dynamic with somebody else that doesn't know who they really are.
And the reason why I referenced Olivia Pope in the thumbnail, that was not clickbait. It's because when I look at Olivia Pope, I can so deeply relate between her relationship with her mom, who constantly goes out of her way to undermine her, to be cruel, and then say, "But I love you." And it's like, that is the most toxic, poisonous thing. And what makes narcissistic mothers so poisonous and so dangerous is that extremism. Is the person who's telling you they love you, your primary caregiver, someone who takes up a lot of space in your brain, in your life, in your heart, that same person being the cruelest person you know. That is what makes this so poisonous, and why I have to keep talking about this. And I've shared this in previous podcast episodes. Guys, these episodes are so traumatizing to make, but at the same time, they're very healing, because of course all this pain, all this betrayal is stored in my body, it's stored in my psyche, and there's no way to dissipate it. There's no way to dissipate it except to talk about it and create awareness around narcissism, and especially narcissistic mothers, because that has been my lived experience for the last 29 years. Okay, another common trait of narcissistic mothers is jealousy and competitiveness. Narcissistic mothers do not view you as their child, guys. Listen. Okay, so first let's read out the write-up about jealousy and competitiveness, and then I'll go ahead and give you guys a real life example from my life. Okay, so these mothers may feel threatened by their children's successes and independence, leading to jealousy. They might undermine or dismiss their children's achievements to maintain a sense of superiority. Now, let me give you guys a story of what happened when I went back to live with my biological mother, Becky. Honestly, horrible mistake. But then again, I believe that it was meant to happen, because the last 2 years were really intense for me, but they were also really healing. They helped me unpack a lot of stuff, a lot of betrayal, a lot of mistrust, a lot of gaslighting, a lot of manipulation. And for me, that was such a necessary evil. It doesn't go without saying that it was difficult in many, 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 many ways. But at the same time, in hindsight, I can see why it was so very, very necessary. Anyway, so coming back to the jealousy and competitiveness example. So when I moved back to live with my mother, Becky, I am a digital marketer by trade. I went to school to do international business administration, and I double majored in marketing and entrepreneurship, and I graduated cum laude. Yay me. And so when I graduated, it was during the pandemic. And so the only people who were really hiring in the marketing space were digital agencies. And that is how I got into digital marketing. So when I moved back in with my mother, Becky, tell me why she suddenly wants to be a digital marketer. Like, why? Mono hivi. And her training is in finance. She worked in banking for like 22 years. And so for me, it was like so baffling. And at the time, I really didn't know anything about, I didn't know anything about narcissists. I didn't know anything about narcissistic mothers. And so I was so baffled. I was like, why would someone with 22 years of experience in banking suddenly decide that they want to go into digital marketing? Now, I mean, if really it was an interest of hers, really, truly, then it would have happened a long time ago. Why does it have to wait until I'm suddenly living with them again for it to become now a pressing career change that must be done? It's just crazy to me. Now, let me tell you guys why this jealousy and competitiveness is dangerous and how it was affecting me. Her behavior, because I would do something, then she does it. I get something, then she gets it. I buy something, she buys it. Guys, it's a mind fuckery. So it kind of put me in a state where I felt like I don't want stuff, because I felt like I don't deserve unique things. Like, I don't deserve anything that makes me stand out. And it's God, just thinking about that, it's so disgusting. It's so diabolical. Like, it's so evil. Oh my God, every time I think about it, I'm just like, how is this? How yani agenda huyu ni mtu? Like, how is this a person? Like, how I don't even understand it. Like, it's so, oh my God, guys, if I had known that she was a narcissist, I would have been recording every singular interaction from the beginning, because right now I would have a mountain of evidence. And as someone who is not manipulative by nature, like, I'm someone who, I'm very bad at lying, I'm very bad at manipulating people. And so oftentimes I'm just forced to tell the truth. And I love that actually about myself, because I'm a terrible liar. I'm like the worst liar I know. And so my weapon of choice is usually the truth, because the truth will never ever change. And so I would have loved to have like just receipt after receipt after receipt for every singular thing I'm sharing with you guys. Anyway, guys, jealousy and competitiveness is a very common trait in narcissistic moms. The other thing is control and manipulation. Narcissistic mothers often exhibit controlling behavior, violating boundaries, and manipulating situations to maintain power over their children. They may become angry or defensive when challenged. So this should really go without saying. I mean, I feel like the plantain episode captures this to a T, but also the manipulation carries across on all the videos that are featured about my narcissistic mom. You just see layers and layers and layers of manipulation. Like, I even have no idea how I am a functioning adult. I'm pretty sure that I have many, many, many issues that will quite possibly take me the rest of my life to resolve. But this is why when you are essentially raised by your biggest op, it's no wonder you are going to be like, I have the worst trust issues on planet Earth. And it's unsurprising when I look at the evidence in front of me. It is so mind-boggling. Like, it's just wild to me. So if you really want to get a really good grasp about manipulation, like manipulation 101, manipulation 102, manipulation 104, and 105, guys, y'all need to check out all the previous episodes I've featuring my narcissistic mom, Becky. You will literally get a masterclass on manipulation. The other common trait of narcissistic mothers is verbal aggression and criticism. Children of narcissistic mothers may experience verbal abuse, including constant criticism and belittling remarks. This behavior can severely impact the child's self-esteem and sense of self-worth. Guys, all you need to do is listen to the real life narcissistic baiting, the plantain episode. That episode is so iconic. That episode literally validated my entire experience living with my biological mom. It literally is like the culmination. It's like the receipt that I needed to show to myself and to my younger child, to be like, you're not crazy. You've never been crazy. You have never been overreacting. This has been your lived experience. And guys, listen to me. If you take nothing else away from this episode, take away the fact that if you're living with a narcissistic person or a narcissistic parent, record your interactions. Because guys, these people have manipulation down to a science. They will rewrite the memories in your brain. If you don't have hard evidence, they will rewrite the memories in your brain. They will gaslight the shit out of you, and you will literally never be able to correctly wire the memory where they did some fuckery to you. So my advice is, if you're living with a narcissistic person and you're not able to escape, and this is especially key when you're living with narcissistic parents, record everything. Let it be hard evidence versus their manipulation. Let it be hard evidence versus their bullshit. Because guys, let me tell you, in a case where it's your word versus theirs, you will never ever win. You will never win unless you have hard evidence. The other common trait of narcissistic mothers is conditional love. You have to buy their love. You have to earn their love. Their affection is often conditional, given only when the child meets specific exceptions or fulfills the mother's needs, leading to feelings of inadequacy in the child. Guys, when I tell you, when I was growing up, like when I was in my adolescent years, I was literally Becky's therapist. I knew everything about her life. I knew everything that was going on with her friends. I knew everything that was going on at work. I knew everything that was going on with her boyfriends. I literally was parentified at like age 12, and I was like listening to her issues at work, and I was there, and you know, guys, that's not normal. Like, there's no way someone in their 30s is offloading to you and you're 12. Like, that's not normal. That's not normal behavior. That's not normal at all. Like, your child should not know more about you than your adult female friends. That's disgusting. That is abuse. That is parentification. That is abuse. That is not normal. That should not be happening. Like, I look back now and I'm like, now at 29, I'm like, I'm not okay with that. But it's because I have an adult brain. Like, I have an adult brain that is fully developed. And I'm like, there is no way that I am venting to like my nieces and they're like 11, 12. That's disgusting. That's disgusting. If you are in this particular situation, please find a way to save yourself, because I assure you, no one else is coming to save you. Like, I can tell you that for free. Now, let's talk about the images that I featured on this particular slide, guys. If you were brought up by narcissistic parents, I urge you to watch the Willoughbys. It is going to heal your inner child like you would not believe. If you were brought up by parents who were like sports fans and they measured how much love to give you based on your performance in sports, then I urge you to watch Pixar's Win or Lose. I promise you, it will heal something in your inner child. And of course, finally, the main the main character, Olivia Pope, brought up by two uber narcissists, like the narcissist final boss. I featured them because I feel like Olivia Pope didn't stand a chance because her father was a narcissist and her mother was a narcissist. And as such, she just was a broken person. And you can see how broken she is by the things she chooses for herself. Like she literally, we watched her choose Fitz while Fitz chose power over and over and over again. It's like she was emotionally abusing herself. But that's what happens. That's what happens when you're brought up by narcissists. You become so accustomed to abuse that when it is missing, you start to abuse yourself. That is about, if you remember nothing else, guys, remember that. The other common trait of narcissistic mothers is excessive need for admiration. These mothers frequently seek validation and admiration from their children, super gross, and others, often demanding praise for their parenting or achievements while disregarding their children's accomplishments. Guys, this one I won't even go into because if I start giving you examples, we're literally gonna be here until the end of time. But this is definitely something to look out for. If every time you bring up an accomplishment, your parent also brings up their accomplishment, number one, that's fucking disgusting. But number two, that is a sign that your parent is a narcissist. The other common trait of narcissistic mothers is unrealistic expectations. Narcissistic mothers often set unattainable standards for their children, expecting them to achieve goals that the mother was unable to accomplish herself. Failure to meet these expectations can result in harsh criticism or punishment. Guys, I think this is especially common in African families and Southeast Asian families. I think that this is super common where narcissistic parents have their children live out the dreams they were unable to live out. My child is a doctor, my child is an engineer, my child is an architect, my child is a lawyer, because they did not have the opportunity to do that, or they chose to do something else, or they simply lacked the brain power to do it. And so they belabor their child to live out their dream when their child is literally a whole ass person with their own hopes, dreams, and aspirations, and their own ambitions, their own career they want to pursue. So I believe that this is super, super relatable in a lot of African homes, in a lot of Southeast Asian homes. We see this time and time and time again. The other common trait in narcissistic mothers is viewing children as extensions of themselves. They tend to see their children as extensions of themselves rather than as independent individuals. This perspective leads to a focus on how the child's achievements reflect on the mother rather than valuing the child's unique identity. Now, I featured Papa Pope simply because he raised Olivia. So he was like the quote-unquote stand-in mom, and we see time and time and time again how he interacts with Olivia as though Olivia is an extension of Eli Pope, is an extension of himself. We see this time and time and time again. We see it at the start of season 3, and we also see it when Eli was captured by the president, and when he was captured, the things he would say about Olivia, it's as though Olivia is not her own person. It's as though she's not a person with thoughts, feelings, and a lived experience. It's as though Eli cloned himself, and Olivia is that clone, living as an extension of Eli. So we see that, and it's so prevalent throughout Scandal. And this is something that we see when parents talk about, oh, my child would never do that, my child would never do that. Why do they say that? Because they don't view you as an individual, as a separate individual. They view you merely as an extension of themselves, which is also super gross. The other common trait of narcissistic mothers is a lack of empathy. Narcissistic mothers often display a significant lack of empathy, making it difficult for them to understand or care about their children's feelings and needs. This can lead to emotional neglect. Now, again, I love to use Olivia as my case study just because her lived experience, while very unrelatable because Eli was a billionaire, in terms of how she was neglected, so much of that is easy to resonate with as someone who has been brought up by a narcissistic mom. And so I completely understand. Like when we see the lack of empathy, we see it's so prevalent with Maya Pope, and we see her actions are so devoid of empathy. She partners with terrorist groups because it has nothing to do with that, has fuck all to do with that. She's like, I'm in this for the money, like I'm here for a fucking check, like and we see even how there's a girl who really admired her, and Maya Pope like literally shot her at point blank range. That is not the making of someone with empathy. And using my own lived experience, we literally saw how my biological mother Becky reacted to me sharing about me being molested, and she literally, there wasn't a semblance of empathy in her response. Like, it's like empathy, what is that? Like, Nini, you know? And it's like there's nothing wrong with being subjected to rape as a child. In her brain, it's like, okay, it happened, it didn't happen to me, so like, can we move on, please? And God, just thinking about that just makes my skin crawl. But anyway, at the end of the day, these are the traits that you need. These are the traits that you need to look out for. I'm going to summarize them for you in the first comment, so be sure to check that out. All the, like, every singular thing that I've talked about is something that I've talked about in previous episodes. And so if you're like, I'm kind of floating, who is this biological mother Becky? What did she do? Oh my god, I want to hear her side of the story. There's a whole bunch of episodes for you to get her side of the story on my channel, so be sure to check those out, and I'll see you in the next one.